By the end of this video, I'm gonna show you an 11-minute dry fire routine that's gonna boost your skills and confidence for concealed carry. Let's get it.
This video is for educational and informational purposes only.
Now, warriors, most of you know I've spent the last 4 years working on my dry firing, working on my draw, my master grip, and being able to get my firearm on target properly so that I'm able to act and move the correct ways if a situation ever occurred. So we're gonna do this thing in like a series. This first video is gonna be on the basics that I think that are very important to know when it comes to practicing with your firearm, getting ready for concealed carry, or just a good time at the range. We're gonna talk about everything from the importance of posture, to the clothes that you're wearing, to the firearm that you decide to use, establishing that master grip, and then some tips and tricks here at the end of the video that I know that will be useful for anybody looking to step that game up. Let's elevate, folks. First of all, YouTube, we're in a safe and controlled environment. I'm in my studio. There's no ammunition in this platform. And when I have a magazine in this platform, it will be filled with these dummy rounds. These are very important to your dry fire. And I recommend you getting something of color. I ain't talking about black either. Something of color that will be easier to differentiate with real rounds, man. You do not want to mistake these for real rounds. You want to make sure that you're doing everything as safe as possible, especially when inside your dwelling, bro, inside your home. Be safe. We got dummies in the magazine, or snap caps. I call them dummies. Show you guys that they're in there. Drop that hammer. Put this platform back in the waistline. And then we won't get onto this right away, but transitioning with that mag, you definitely want to have dummies in there as well. And to be honest, for somebody like me, I like my magazine a little heavier, so I do put dummies on top. And I usually put 4 to 5 dummies on top so I cannot make a mistake, but I want my magazines to be as heavy as possible to emulate a very real situation as much as possible that you could do with dry firing. Let's get right into the steps and stop blabbing along, Mr. John Wick. So before we get into implementing a target, I want to go ahead and get you guys established with the right mindset on posture, on clearing a garment, and on getting the firearm outside of the holster. We're not working on speed right now. We're working on tips and hints, tricks, whatever you want to call it, on how to get this platform out of your holster and onto a target. Brain fart. So first of all, you want to make sure you have that adequate holster as well, along with those snap caps. And on this holster, I do have a Cloudster pillow. Very soft, man. This makes concealed carry the appendix way a hell of a lot easier, man. A hell of a lot more comfortable. I don't know what you're packing down there. Pause. But I need the comfort. I need the room. So I got me a Cloudster. So the first reason why I dry fire before I leave my house is to make sure that what I'm wearing actually is cohesive with the platform that I have on. A lot of us have a lot of different guns. So for me, I like to make sure that what I'm wearing is kind of loose enough. And if it isn't, I'm tugging on my shirt, getting it really loose so that I can grab my firearm. Now, where I like to place my hand, a lot of people like to go right above the platform. I feel like that kind of, for me, it causes a lot of friction. So I grab a lot higher, like up here. You see what I mean? I want y'all to practice that a little bit. Just grab right there for a second. Look at that, I mess up too. But grab at that shirt. And you want to pinch. Don't try to grab with your pinkies and things. These 2 fingers here just pinch a little bit. Right? Pinch. 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 Right? So for you guys, I want you to start off slower unless you got it like that. But you see? And with your trigger, with your trigger finger, the finger that you're pressing the trigger with, because we don't pull triggers around here, we press them. So the finger that you're pressing the trigger with, I want you to get that webbing on that grip. I want you to get that, let me see. I want you to get your webbing on this webbing. Connect, right? And for me, when it comes down to drawing a pistol, these 2 things are most important. You want to get those pinkies around that grip as much as possible and that webbing in there. You want to get this on this support hand, which really is the true hand. We'll get into that later if you stick around. We'll understand why this is the real hand. This just pulls triggers. This sets everything else up in place and keep it on track, in my opinion. So, lift, get in that webbing. Get that pinky around there. Webbing. We want to establish a master grip. We want to establish a master grip here. So, let's get this firearm out of the holster real quick. Right? Right? And that pinky is on there very secure. That firearm is in the webbing as much as possible. Now let's do a two-handed grip the way that you're supposed to do it. Very slow. Let's lift. Hand on gun, right? And a lot of people punch out. I don't like to do that. I don't recommend that. Let me turn this way so you guys can get a good view of this other hand. When you connect, like around here, right? Mash in, grip out, and punch like this. Let me show that a little bit faster so that you can see what I'm talking about. Boom. See how I land? If it was a target that I was truly aiming at, which there are targets over here, safe and compliant, you don't want to punch. To me, that creates too much movement. Now, again, I am not a firearms instructor, but I've done this for over 1,000 hours. Over 1,000 days, an hour at a time, most recently back down to the 15-minute time zone. I just want to reiterate, no punching out for me. For me personally, it's hard to acquire that dot, even doing what I'm exactly supposed to do, which is stay target focused. So what you want to do is out, land on, from the top, land on. You see that? Not land on, land on. And a lot of people do this too. Swoop up. That's crazy. That's even crazier than punching out. At least punching out, you're generally in the correct area that you're supposed to be in, but with a little bit of that. When you go swoop up, you come up, and most of the time you got to come back down anyway. Imagine this. Use this as an example. Inside of here, on the other side of your elbow, is not bones. How can I say this properly? It's not bones. Out here, you got a lot more stopping power with your triceps and things like that. A lot more stopping power versus, you get what I'm saying? And then when you punch out like this, as I said to you, it kind of, for me personally, like it might work for some others, but it throws off your true point of aim. That firearm should be coming up right above your dominant eye. For me, I'm cross-eye dominant. So it's going to come up over my left eye when it's in my right hand. Crazy, huh? But a lot of us are like that. That's the thing you need to figure out. That's a gem right there. Figure out if you're cross-eye dominant, because you may be fighting with getting this above your right eye and things still not panning out correctly for you. So what you want to do is get this platform above your dominant eye. And I'll tell you a trick with that a little bit later on, how to ensure that you are acquiring that dot at all times and that you're making sure that your dominant eye is exactly seeing what it's supposed to see. We'll get into that a little bit later. If you stick around. So what I want you to remember is speed is not the key when you're first starting out with this. It's basically getting muscle memory on these basic steps on how to acquire that firearm for a self-defense situation, especially if you're concealed carrying this platform. So let's reiterate really quick and then move on. We want to make sure our garment is fitted right and loose, right? You know, when you put on some clothes before you leave the house and you get ready to dry fire, this should be number one. Make sure that what you're wearing actually works for what you're carrying. You want to grab in an adequate position from here to here, maybe, depending on how you feel. I like to grab higher, as I've stated before. Let me show you grabbing low really fast. Grabbing lower here. Look. So when you grab, that creates more of a punch out, in my opinion. Like all this stuff builds up and leads up to each other. That creates more of a punch out, correct? When you grab higher, That allows you to do exactly what you need to do, which is swoop this hand, because this hand needs to be like, almost like a reel. On target, on target. And let me do a better job at what I'm doing, which is keeping my finger at that trigger guard, even though I have snap caps in there. I don't want comments down below and saying, da-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And I had a snag. You're gonna mess up. The point is to understand that you wanna make sure that you establish that muscle memory and get that master grip down. When you mess up a little bit, take your time with the mess ups as well, so that you understand exactly what's going on. We all know that practice does not make perfect. It just ingrains what you're doing, even if it's negative. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to when you mess up and say, why did I just grab my shirt right here? It's because I didn't let go in time. I didn't let go in time. You see? I didn't flex correctly. My posture might have been a little slouched. Posture is very important. You want to make sure that your feet are shoulder width apart, and your dominant hand, which is your support hand, let me not confuse y'all. Let's just say support for now. Your support hand foot is in front, a little bit out, and not locked. You want to keep it a little loose at the knees, almost like getting ready to box, right? Proper boxing stance. This other foot with the trigger finger needs to be back, and that's just to give you some bounce, right? And to give you some stability. So work on that posture. Work on having those feet pointed in the right direction. Now let's speed things up. And let me show you like how fast I can do it and things like that. And you see how I tend to breathe like before I make that pistol, like piston action that I tend to. These are just things to kind of build up on, right? To build up on when you're working on your draw and your dry fire practicing for concealed carry. If you're finding this stuff interesting so far, I need you to do one thing for me, and that is drop a like. Hit that like button. And I lied. Do one more thing. Hit that notification bell to all. For the beginners out there, I want you to work on that. Gripping the shirt, gripping the shirt, gripping the shirt. And if you need to break these down into steps, just work on gripping the shirt. Then I want you to work on gripping the shirt, establishing a master grip on the platform, webbing to webbing. Before you even pull this gun out, just keep doing this for a while. I want you to give yourself at least 10 to 11 minutes of gripping your shirt just like that and grabbing a firearm without even pulling it out. It sucks, man, but this is what I feel like you need to do in order to just make it autonomous, make it a habit. These are perishable skills. It's not like riding a bike. You can lose it. When you get very comfortable with that, then you move on to getting that firearm out. And I want you to transition very slow when you are doing that. When you're pulling that firearm out, I don't want you to put on the speed. I want you to kind of put on the brakes and kind of get a feel for what you're doing. Making sure you're not pushing out. Making sure that you use this hand as a reel. I want you to watch this video as many times as you need to establish these basic tips. Now, there's a lot of things I could have implemented into this, but I feel like that'll be best for the next video in this series. Once you're ready to move along and you feel comfortable enough to start putting a little speed behind it and giving yourself a little more tips and hints to make this just very autonomous for you, move on to that next video. Oh yeah, I did tell you that I was gonna give you a tip and trick. I'm not gonna play you. So I'm still gonna tease you with it. If you're having trouble staying target focused, this can be very important. Very important. You would put this on the dot, and if you stay tuned in the next video, I'll definitely get around to showing you how this mechanism actually works with your firearm. I'm out, warriors.